Establishing battlefield
Hey guys,
control.
welcome to another video. We are going to take a look at the machine gun squad strategy. And basically how this strategy works is you ideally want to get the launch pad as quickly as you can as the game starts. So what I'm going to do is build a machine gun squad because they're very slow at moving. And they take a long time to set up as well. So during this time, they're very vulnerable. They're only strong when they're set up. And I'm going to send out one rifleman here as well to immediately support my machine gun squad, because machine gun squads are very weak if your opponent ever gets too close to it and it starts attacking it. Even these laser squads, they do some decent damage while my machine gun squad is taking forever to set up. It already took, 1/3 of its health. And even with the help of my riflemen, you still have to be very careful with these machine gun squads. It will take you a lot of practice to get good at this, but once you understand how to use a machine gun squad, how to protect them well with your cheaper units like the riflemen, militants, war dogs, and even drones. In this case, I actually brought drones as a helipad. You can do very well. So I immediately captured a middle launch pad. Your opponent will most likely go for light vehicle units and infantry units, and you can see that's what he has. He has militants, scarabs, and he has laser squads. He goes for a double harvester in this case because you see a second harvester popping out. This opponent, you can see that he clearly has not really met this strategy before, so he doesn't understand that he's going to end up losing the game if he doesn't do anything about it, because I'm going to capture the first missile really quickly here and then capture a second one. I send out a jump jet as well to harass his harvester. There's no harvester opening with this strategy. Now, if you do start off with a harvester, the strategy will still work. Sometimes it's better to go into a harvester, but in a lot of the cases, you ideally don't want to go into a harvester because you're just trying to grab onto a launch pad with cheap units and your machine gun squads to hold off your enemy. His scarab tries a futile attempt here against my rifleman jump just to stop me from from killing his harvesters, but he is getting completely wrecked right now. And I'm gonna speed this up now. So you can see the first missile is captured, and my jump jet's taking out a second harvester. I'm sending out a second jump jet as well. And this guy definitely did not see this strategy coming. He also has 3 Temple of Nod units. Now that Widowmaker is really strong and will actually, even though it's surrounded, will take out both of my machine gun squads, which was a nice attempt on his side into trying to control that middle launch pad again. I kill a third harvester. He builds more Widowmakers, and I just go for a ton of jump jet squads because you can take out a Widowmaker with 2 to 3 jump jet squads. In this case, I took it out with 2 jump jet squads because he was trying to move his Widowmaker. But if he didn't move his Widowmaker, he would have actually killed both of my jump jets there. But I immediately set up another machine gun squad right behind my wall of jump jets. He goes for a rockworm now. And at this point, rockworm is just gonna be a little bit too slow at moving, and it won't get there. So I mean, honestly, Chef just kept building Widowmakers if he wanted a chance here. But once you have this machine gun squad wall set up, if you have at least 2 machine gun squads next to each other or in close proximity with militants, riflemen, war dogs, drones, jump jets, anything to protect your machine gun squads in front, you're gonna have a very good time at capturing these launch pads. And this guy was completely taken surprised from the beginning. He clearly didn't play against this strategy a lot because it's not a common strategy you will see. You'll see some players using this machine gun squad launch pad rush, but it's not a very common strategy. So it's definitely something he probably learned from his side the next time he sees something like this.
Establishing battlefield
All right,
control.
this will be the second game. Now, for some reason, when I was using this machine gun squad strategy, a lot of my opponents were not players, which was interesting because if you're playing as GDI, you should mainly be facing GDI opponents. But anyways, this is another not opponent. I go for a machine gun squad. He actually goes straight into a flame squad. See, he actually rushes me here without a harvester. You see that he has no harvester. He builds a 1 laser squad as well to deal with my war dogs. And you can see just how fast that machine gun squad went down to flame squad. machine gun squads are very vulnerable when they're moving, and when they're trying to set up, they will die very quickly to flame squads and even militants and things like the riflemen, and they won't be able to fight back against air units, of course. But my machine gun squad gets set up just in time here, takes out his weakened flame squad, and I suppress his laser squads. These laser squads fall back, and at this point I believe he does go for a harvester, but he actually moves his harvester downward because normally they go on the top, and that's what I was expecting. So I send both of my machine gun squads to the top, but then I realized his harvester is going to be on the south side if he has one, and I do see it at this point with my war dog. I built 3 MG squads, which may be a little bit too much because you're definitely gonna have to expect your opponent to go for an air tower at some point, because a lot of them will bring either Venoms and Banshees, or at least Banshees. But you can see my machine gun squad setup is really nice here. And once again, this player probably wasn't expecting for this machine gun squad launchpad rush with no harvester, because it's not a common strategy, and that's why this strategy is very effective. You know, if it was being used so much, like, you know, how the MLRSs were so dominant in the last season, that you would just expect MLRSs and War Dogs to come out immediately, players will be more ready for that type of strategy. But this machine gun squad launchpad rush is still not a very common strategy. You will see on the ladder, it's used by several small amount of good players, I believe in the Tiberium League, and it is a very viable strategy. It works very well if you can pull it off, but it does take a lot of practice, because I did lose a lot of games definitely when I first tried using this strategy. But as I got better, as I understood the speed and the time it took for the machine gun squad to set up, I got better at the strategy. Practice makes perfect. In this case, you guys can see that I went for a ton of pit bulls here at the end, because your opponent will most likely go for a lot of air units. And that's what he did. He transitioned into a whole bunch of Banshees, which were taken out by my pit bulls. And you're definitely going to want to have pit bulls in this build if you're not using things like the Talon, for example. So if you're going to have a barrack and a war factory, you're definitely going to want to have pit bulls, because your opponent at some point will transition into air units if he brought them to the game.
Establishing battlefield control.
Alright, this will be the third example, and like I said, guys, when I used this strategy, everybody I was facing against was not opponents. So I'm gonna go cut down to my view. He started off with a harvester, if you guys saw that there. I go into the machine gun squad immediately here and go for war dogs. Now I go for war dogs instead of riflemen, because I actually prefer using war dogs myself with this build. I do go for riflemen sometimes, but I like the flexibility of the war dogs being able to deal with flame squad. Just to let you know, my opponent actually doesn't know I have the machine guns set up right now. He actually did not scout it. So you can see this is what he's seeing on the map. He builds one laser squad thinking that I'm just going to have a ton of war factory units. You know, I might be just an MLRS player, right? But he walks into both of my machine gun squads, gets absolutely wrecked, and that surprise factor is huge. Like I said, guys, this strategy usually gives a huge surprise factor to your opponent. They don't see it coming unless they face the strategy a couple of times here and there. I send a pit bull immediately to the top. Now I see he has a double harvester. As you can see, he has 2 Temple of Nod units, so he wants to get that economy ramping up. I want to capture this missile. And machine gun squads are good against vehicle units too, as long as they stay out of range. For example, this attack bike, if it walks into my machine gun squad range, it will get shredded. And look at how much damage it takes over time. It does take significant amount of damage. I build pit bulls to deal with the attack bike as well, to help me with the machine gun squad. I send that one war dog down south to deal with the flame squad there. And I'm going to try to kill the harvester once again. Now, the Banshee's coming out. Like I said before, air units are definitely going to be expected from your opponent. So I immediately go for pit bulls. That's why I had one pit bull ready already and built a second one, because I knew at some point he was going to build Venoms or Banshees. There's a lot of times where you'll get screwed over if you don't have one pit bull or if you don't have a missile squad ready. I prefer the pit bulls. I do have missile squads, but I prefer the pit bulls just because they can deal with Venoms better. Now he tries his last ditch attempt to throw units on the launch pad to stop me, but he loses the game because he once again did not really focus. I mean, he did try to get the launch pads from the beginning, but that surprise factor was too much for him. and it pushed his units back. I suppressed his units with my machine gun squads. I was able to capture the first launch pad and into the second launch pad, here winning me the game again. And this will be the final example for this strategy. Once again, another not opponent, but this time a different commander, Xana. I'm gonna cut it down to my view. For this last game, I accidentally misclicked and pressed the harvester. I actually did not mean to start off with a harvester, but definitely this strategy does still work with the harvester. And sometimes you do want to start with a harvester instead. He builds one militant, he scouts that I have a harvester on top, he sees my machine gun squad, so he immediately sends this guy down to kill my machine gun squad, and he actually almost does. Look at how much health my machine gun squad has at the end there. You can see that those riflemen will do a lot of damage if they ever get into range. Now, that's why I block my machine gun squad quickly with my rifleman. He boosts his flame squad, but that's not going to help him survive because I had the rifleman to wall him off. He has a scarab on the top protecting his harvester. I tried to send one jump jet squad, but I saw that scarab, so I back it out. He builds a militant here again to, you know, shoo away my cheap rifleman units. He goes for a venom immediately. This guy knows what he's doing, and the venom is going to absolutely wreck machine gun squads. They're definitely one of the best counters along with talents. And I'm going to switch into a missile squad here, but I'm not going to send my missile squad immediately to that venom because the venom is level 10, so it's actually going to beat my missile squad on 1 versus 1 basis. Now, this first missile, it's looking bad for me because with this strategy, you do want to capture the missiles ASAP. You really don't want to give your opponent the first missile because it can be very bad for you late game because your build is not late game. It's an early build. It's an early game build mainly. There really is not even that many mid game units, so he actually captures the first missile here with his venoms and banshees. He did a very good job. So I go for mass pit bulls at this point, and I go for another jump jet here to try to take out one of his harvesters here, and he builds a giga cannon here, which was good on his part, but I surrounded immediately with double pit bulls and a jump jet, taking out that giga cannon immediately. And I'm just gonna build a ton of pit bulls here because pit bulls can relatively hold itself against infantry units pretty well as long as it's not laser squads. He didn't have laser squads in this case. He had scarabs, but scarabs are not so mobile. So with the machine gun squad, with a 2-tile range, it can tear apart those scarabs. So I've got all 3 launch pads held at this point. But remember, he had the first missile on me, so I still have to capture 2 missiles. And that Banshee. Banshees and those venoms keep wrecking my my machine gun squads that were constantly out of position. I could have definitely done a better positioning with my machine gun squads in the mid to the late game here, but it's really difficult to position them sometimes just because machine gun squads are slow moving units and they take so much time to set up. I honestly think they could try bumping up that setup speed on the machine gun squad, but you know, if you of course buff a unit like the machine gun squad a little bit too much, it can become slightly overpowered, I think, because the machine gun squads are very strong when they're set up, I would say. But if any units ever do get up to its face and starts attacking the machine gun squad will die. So I'm doing a very good job right now. I have 2 machine gun squads set up. I block his incoming Banshee there with my Lieutenant Strong Arms turret. Build a ton of pit bulls to deal with those Banshees. So in this case, the pit bull and the machine gun squad were really working out for me, dealing with those Venoms and Banshees, and then, you know, the machine gun squad's taking care of all the ground units and whatnot. So let me know what you guys think about this strategy. I certainly really like this strategy. It takes a lot of practice to get good at it, but if you can get those machine gun squads early on those launch pads, you're most likely going to have a great time dealing with your opponents as long as you protect your machine gun squads from incoming units that are trying to kill them, of course. So thanks for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.